Hi everyone, welcome to the Bear Necessities. I'm Bear, and today we are making a delicious, fruity, lovely, soft blueberry buckle. A buckle is something similar to a crumble. I don't know much more than that though on the lore and history. It's got a cakey batter that your fruit is mixed into, and then it's got a little bit of a crumble on the top. I added some rolled oats to the crumble in mine because I love oats. To get started, I guess, let's just go ahead and get started. You know, it sounds good to me. You need your hot box at 375 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 190 degrees C. Or if you're using a convection oven, just go ahead and drop it down 25 degrees Fahrenheit. Cannot help you. I think it's like 170 Celsius. Still can't figure that one out for some reason. Life of me. Don't know. So 375 or convection 350. Then for the actual recipe, you're going to need 2 cups of all-purpose flour or whatever flour you want to use other than, like, don't use bread flour, obviously. That would way too much. Cake flour would work really, really well with this. It would keep that light, crumbly texture in the actual cake itself. It'd be delicious. With that, you're going to need 2 teaspoons of baking powder and 1 teaspoon of salt. A 1/4 cup of room temperature butter. In here I actually have a whole stick of butter because I need a 1/4 cup for this and then a 1/4 cup for the crumble top. You need 2 cups of whatever fruit you're going to use. This is 2 cups of blueberries. They're frozen. They're just wild blueberries that I got at the local mega store, and they are delicious. You will need 1/2 cup of milk, 1 whole egg, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and then mine, I'm adding some lemon because lemon blueberry, wonderful together. So I have the juice and zest of 1 lemon, and it was a fairly substantial lemon, like I can show you. So one about this size. So good juicy lemon, and remember when you're shopping for them, look for a smooth textured skin. They tend to be juicier. And then you get good zest off of it too. And finally, to sweeten it all up, either use 1/3 to 1/2 cup of whatever sweetening like syrup that you want to use. I'm using maple because I had the rest of that bottle from however long ago now. And or if you're just using sugar, which is fine, like that's actually what the original calls for, just use 3/4 cup of sugar in this. I reduced it though because of the liquid sweetener in here. It's far sweeter than sugar. And this is the maple from my friend's tribe's maple camp, one of them. It's the Zibima maple camp, I guess is what they call them. We don't have those in Texas, so I don't know. I've got maple trees out front. They don't make syrup. And it's just, I'm a maple convert. This stuff is good. So good that I've actually ordered from their online store, and I've gotten some maple cream, which is like whipped maple syrup, and it's just delightful and so overbearingly sweet, and it's great on a bagel. Not that I've tested that multiple times this week. And then I also got some maple sugar, which we will be using in this recipe for in the topping, which is just dehydrated maple syrup ground up and once it's at the crystalline form. And it's delightful. It's so lovely and soft, and just the flavor is perfect. And then of course maple syrup that I'm using in here. Then for your topping, we're going to go ahead and discuss that because this moves real quick. And you're going to need the other 1/4 cup of butter or whatever room temperature fat you have, like whatever fat that sets up at room temperature. Shortening goes in this actually fairly well. That's one of the original recipes that I found. Calls for shortening in both. I'm guessing probably from the 1940s or so when butter was rationed severely. So makes sense. You're also going to need a 1/2 cup of sugar. So I have maple sugar in the bottom of this. I went ahead and mixed all my crumble topping pieces together because it's easier that way for me. So you'll need the half cup of sugar. And then in here, I also have an additional third-ish cup of all-purpose flour. And then I have a third cup of rolled oats, a quarter teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, a half teaspoon of nutmeg, and then I, of course, because I have to be extra, also have a quarter teaspoon of grains of paradise ground up in here. Again, it's one of those it's super optional because it's a fairly expensive ingredient and they're hard to find. And I'm not trying to be like, I can afford expensive ingredients. I'm saying it's precious, so we use it sparingly because it's also just powerful. And then you just need the other butter, which I believe I said that, so we're not going to worry about it. You don't need more than the more that you already have. So let's get started with this. Into a bowl, and this is one of those you're going to have to cream method this together. So in the dry ingredients, we're going to go ahead and add our baking powder, our baking powder and our salt, and just get that stirred in. That way we're giving ourselves a nice chance at the beginning to make sure everything mixes well. And I'm going to go ahead and put that over to the side for just a moment while we work with our liquid. So in here I have my just under half a cup of maple syrup. And then I also have the juice and zest of 1 lemon. And I'm going to add a quarter of a cup of butter. Thank you, oven. It is telling me that not only is it preheated, it has run out of time, so that's fine. There we go. Our butter. This was frozen, so I had to melt it a little bit, but it's fine. We're just going to get that mixed in. The reason why it usually calls for granulated sugar is because it's going to break up your butter and it's going to cream it together. Not yet worried about that. Though I may go ahead and switch over to a standard whisk for now until I need my dough whisk. So whisk, just to help break the butter up into little pieces. This is one of the differences you will run into if you're using a liquid sweetener like I am. Honey works really well in this too, and you want to talk about like true to flavor. Oh, honey. I'm not calling you honey, though I would probably. Then you have your milk. Go ahead and get that just kind of tossed in. And finally, we have our vanilla. And let me clean that up because I'm messy today. We have our egg. So this egg, we've seen these before now, is from my husband's coworker. She raises lovely chickens. And in fact, the chicken that laid this one, her name was Mabel. Not even making that up. Like, her name is Mabel, and it's delightful. It was a big egg, and Mabel just had to work real hard for it, and we're super proud of her. And the yolk in this is just beautiful and dark, and it's going to add a crazy amount of richness. There we go. And usually you add just a little bit of flour at a time to your liquid ingredients. And that's what we're doing today. We're doing about a third of the flour, baking powder, and salt together. And we're just going to get that lightly mixed in. It doesn't have to be perfect, just enough that we're not wearing it. And you can use a mixer for this. It goes so fast, it doesn't really matter. And we have not added our blueberries yet, if you'll notice. We're not going to just yet. Get all of that broken up. And I'm going to take some of the flour that we have, though, maybe 2 teaspoons, and just lightly coat these gorgeous blueberries that I'm sure my hands are going to be purple from. Fun. but worth it. Oh yeah, that's cute. Glad I'm colorblind. All right, and there we go. And the flour is already reacting to the lemon juice, or the baking powder, I suppose. And the reason we put some of the flour on the blueberries is to help them not sink when it's baking, so that they stay evenly distributed. And really? Wow. Just a messy Bessie over here today. Clean counter. So I am not wasting those. Just going to clean up really quick, because you clean as you go, y'all. Clean as you go. That way your partner, yourself, your cat, whomever doesn't complain about you making too much of a mess. And let me just go ahead and switch back over to my dough with dough whisk. I don't want to continue using this one because it is a very soft whisk and it doesn't hold up to the pressures that I put it under. So there we go. And we're just going to get everything finished together. I'm grabbing a scraper. Get that out of the way. And we're just going to go ahead and get this into our baking dish. I have a little baking dish that will work beautifully for this. And just pushing the batter out to the sides to make sure it's fairly even. It will self-level to a point. I just want to give it a head start. And get everything in. There we go. Actually, go ahead and keep that. Rinse the dough off though. We don't want blueberry in our crumble. Like, I know it doesn't make sense, but trust me, we don't. We have that. I'm gonna grab a fork for this. It just goes a bit easier. And remember, in here I have my ½ cup of sugar, 1/3 of a cup of all-purpose flour, 1/3 of a cup of oats, a ½ teaspoon of salt, or a 1/4 teaspoon, excuse me, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, a full teaspoon of cinnamon, ½ teaspoon of nutmeg, 1/4 teaspoon of grains of paradise ground up in here. And the sugar that I'm using in here is maple sugar, which is gorgeous and delightful and fun. All right, and so maple sugar. I'm not trying this word right now. My friend Jenny, who is the Odawa that I know, she is learning the language right now, and so I've been bugging her to help me with the pronunciations. So let's get all of this kind of mixed together so it's nice and even before we add our butter. Now just scrape the butter in. It's a really simple topping, but it makes a big difference. So you can forego it, but I don't suggest it, because then it's not a buckle. It's just blueberry cake, which is still good, but it's not what we're making today. And you're just going to work the butter in to get everything mixed together, and it's going to make it a little bit of a doughy texture. That's what we're looking for, because as you keep mixing it together, it will break up into smaller and smaller pieces, up to a point where we're going to have to use our hands to just finish breaking it up. But of course, you know, clean hands are a chef's best friend. So, best tool you have in your kitchen, aside from a good knife, of course. Now, just going to finish mixing all of this up. All right, now that I've gotten this all mixed together and lovely, we're going to sprinkle it over the top of the cake batter in a decently even layer. It's not going to be perfect just because of the nature of what it is, and that's fine. As it cooks, the butter will melt in it, and it'll spread just a tiny, tiny bit, and you will get delicious, crispy, crumbly pieces on top, but they will have made a little bit more cover for the top. So there we go. I'm going to rinse my hands really quick. All right, clean hands. And we're going to get this in our oven for 25 to maybe 30 minutes. I'm going to start out at 25 and start watching it. Toothpick isn't going to work here, so we're going to have to go by touch, where you just press down, and if it springs immediately back up, we're golden. And also we're going by the color, which should be a nice golden across the top. So let's get this baking, and I'll see you back soon. All right, y'all. So these ended up baking for exactly 25 minutes. And they came out lovely and springy and soft and a gorgeous color. As you can see, my whole house smells absolutely divine. Just the spices and the butter and everything mixed together. Oh Lord. And then of course the maple that's in there too. The maple sugar on top, and then the maple in the actual cake itself. Let's give it a taste. I did let this rest for about 10 to 12 minutes because I did not want it to be just absolutely screaming hot. And I'm just going to get a little piece for myself because y'all know, can't handle too much. Thank you. I had something else in there. So there we go. I don't want to miss any of my crumble topping. So good. All right, let's give it a taste. Rude. I'm not losing a single bite of this. Oh my gosh. Excuse me. So if you can see, it's got a very good, soft, fluffy texture. It's very springy, light. The lemon's in there, just the hit of lemon. The blueberries, amazing. It's sweet. It does have that mapley kind of back on it. That's almost smoky. And then the cinnamon, the nutmeg, the grains of paradise on top. And the crunch. That is, if you can hear that, like, those are crispy bits, and it's an absolute delight. I'm looking forward to eating the rest of this piece. So, enjoy it. Maybe try cinnamon apple. You'll have to cook your apples first, just a little bit, but try that. Or, I don't know, sliced strawberries and chocolate chips, cherries, whatever you've got. Make it yours, make it happen, and enjoy it, as always. Enjoy it. I hope you enjoy making this recipe as much as I did today. And I would say I wish you could smell my house, but I'm really genuinely hoping you'll get to make this yourself, and then you don't have to. You'll be able to smell it yourself. And we'll have that, and it'll just be amazing. And until I see you again, bye.